solve all the problems this short period of time is impossible. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm thinking in this. I've been talking with my supervisor about this idea that is called like uncommon. And the idea that when something happens and you're forced to move, there is this device that just you kind of pinch your foundation just to let them know that you are safe and you are comfortable. And if you are carrying a mobile device, if you are carrying any electronic device, you can connect it. Like the screen, if you want they're just growing and growing. Well, and it's current. Yes, it's very current. And we were having a discussion with my supervisor last week. And he said the treatment is actually not moving because they are forced, but they are moving because they want to, but it's because they are forced. The situation makes them move.
Nobody wants to leave the room. It's their comfort.
Exactly. And I also like I'm conscious that I'm not an architect, I'm a designer. I'm not an architect, so
good morning.
I don't have the expertise in like
So I need to ask you to do me a favor. So I want some female, male in a good mix. So if you see, I don't know, maybe more than 3 female in your team, then move. Maybe 2 female is okay because I think we have a little more male here. So if you see, right? So too many females there, too many females here. So maybe one of you can move, then that'll be great. So yeah, there's one. Okay, so far so good, I guess. All right. And I see more open tables today. Don't know why, but yeah, let's wait for another 5 more minutes and we'll see.
It's a Monday. Is it a working day?
actually it's holiday.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Actually, I was reading the same news, and I was reading that the oldest population is in South Korea. They got older since 1999. So most of the population is like just increasing.
60% of 130 billion people are below the age of 25.
I don't know exactly the rate of we are not a big population, but I'm pretty sure the young population is also higher. Nice to meet you. I'm Leo. Japanese.
Oh my god. My name is Nice to meet you.
My name is Anna.
My husband previously worked at Moida.
No, actually I haven't very Yes, I'm doing my own research. It's about temporary spaces, temporary for example, for refugees, and deciding like a better interaction.
I studied engineering at University, MKO University.
Okay, good morning everyone. Had a good sleep last night? Yeah, slept tight. So when you really use your brain, you get a really good sleep, right? And you really get hungry and you really get sleepy. So that's a good sign. And so we're beginning the day 2, and I hope all of you are sitting with somewhat new people, right? In day 3, you'll probably know more people, so you won't be sitting with brand new people, but hopefully today you're sitting with brand new people, right? You're meeting new people. Good, that's good. And so since you're meeting new people, please put your name, maybe write it on the post-it note and then stick it up here, or do something about it. And so the people can talk to you. Good? Great. And just call me Kane. Don't call me Professor Kane. I don't know who that is. Yes, Professor Ishibashi is my dad, so don't call me that. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable. So okay, let's get started. So I hope all of you on the way home were looking for innovative things. Were you? Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Do so. And I hope all of you were looking for the values it's creating, the non-obvious ones, right? And here's some good inspiration for you. So this is innovative things inspiration you can get off the web. This is the Index. It's a design award held in Copenhagen. Who knows Index or this Index award? Good. Okay. So somewhat popular. So this is twice a year award, design award, and this is Danish NPO Index is the host, and there's a theme called Design to Improve Life, and that's basically a trademark there. And their philosophy is that they host this design competition to promote that the design can change our life or make our lives better. And it's quite interesting. A lot of, do we have that package from 2011? Oh, good, here. So if you're interested, of course there's a website, but here's the package that we got from Index people in 2011. Me and Yoshi and some other guys visited here 2013? Yeah, 2013. And they gave us this. And what's really interesting is that, so I think this is still, it is. So if you want to be as a contestant for this competition, your design has to exist at least for 2 years. So it means you cannot just come up with something yesterday and put it up there. They wanted something real. They wanted something real that's working for at least 2 years. to get nominated by yourself or by others. So it's quite interesting that it's not about just coming up with new idea, but it's actually making it to it's actually working to improve someone's life. So that's the concept. And here are some winners from 2011. Do you know what that is? Yeah? Right? You put it in the correct way, exactly. It's a helmet, okay? But there's a better way to put it. It's invisible helmet. Yeah? And this was designed by two Norwegian ladies. They were in their college, and I saw the news. Last time I checked, maybe a year ago, they had a second round investment, and they now have a company. So they're not enterprise yet, but they're startup. So it's quite. I don't know how to read that. Can anybody read that for me? Okay, that. And what that? Okay, and that's supposed to mean like helmet or? Okay, yes. Sorry about that. So, right. So this is one of the interesting things, and of course you see innovativeness there. You see value there. Of course, think about it. This was two girls in college who doesn't want to wear a helmet. Can you guess the reason? Right, it's fashion. I don't care. Yes, I don't care, but these girls do care. So they wanted something fashionable that looks better on them, but still that can assure their safety. So that was the value they're providing. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you know this. Who knows this? Embrace. You haven't been doing much research or the reading. So this is the one invented or created by D-School students, Stanford D-School students. So we're going to talk about Stanford D-School today. But this was actually a student project held in ME 310. That's a mechanical engineering 310. That's design for innovation or innovation for design. No. Innovation design or design for innovation. I forgot the course title. But that's the course that is run by D-School, Design School, and the Mechanical Engineering, or School of Mechanical Engineering. And this was actually started as a student project to build, actually the initial target was to build better baby incubator in Nepal or the high Himalayan areas, okay? So basically the first target was to improve the functionality or the performance of the incubator. But okay, so they went there, and what they found out is, hey, we can't just improve the incubator, the machine, because that's not the problem. Because babies are dying at home there. Because of the high altitude and the cold temperature, the babies born small cannot survive on the way they get to the hospital. So if you have a big, nice performing incubator at hospital, doesn't help much because babies are suffering or mothers are suffering at home. So here's what they did. So they had they had that start, but they pivot. They changed their scope because they thought that's not the value they want to create. They thought they need mobile and cheap incubation sleeping bag, so to say. Baby sleeping bag that can support baby temperature for certain hours so that baby can reach to the hospital safely. So that was the whole turnaround. And of course they built a company around it. I don't know how far they went. Anybody know how far they went? I'm pretty sure this company still exists because large NGO or NPO supported them. Now meaning the people in Himalayas can purchase this for about like $10 or $15. So it's very, very cheap because there's a support by the non-governmental organization, and of course the Embrace itself is built very cheap. So these are some of the winners of this design competition, and it's so interesting to just go through not only the finalists or the winners, but all the contestants. It's so interesting. You'll see different innovativeness. you'll see different values it's creating. So that's a good way to practice, or a good way to raise your awareness of the innovativeness. And of course, it's a great discussion material. So if you want to do this with your friend, it's great. Oh, sorry. And there's another opportunity since you're in Japan. So there's a Good Design Award exhibition coming up. And Good Design Good Design Award is another design award awarded in Japan. And it's an annual event. And starting from the end of October into the beginning of November at Tokyo Midtown, you can go there and then you see a lot of award-winning designs. And so you will see probably about 100 or more than 100 winners or contestants. And of course, there are some traditional design products. So it looks nice, or it looks great, or beautiful. You know, there are traditional ones, but you'll see some very interesting ones. For example, I think this is the winner in 2013. Do you know foldable helmet? So I just talked about invisible helmet, right? I'm not a big helmet fan, but so yeah, let me pull it out on the web. So it's a foldable helmet that you can fold it, but still works as a perfect helmet. Let's see. Oh, there. Here. So this is the helmet that won Design Award in 2013. I don't know if it won the best award or not, but it's a foldable helmet, and you can actually store it into the very tiny place, because we have earthquake. Yeah, welcome to Japan. We have earthquake, volcanoes, tsunami, and just about everything. We just had a flood.
You forgot
So
Godzilla.
what's that?
You forgot Godzilla.
Godzilla, yes, Godzilla. We haven't gotten there yet, but we might, right? Okay. So, yeah, so that's the 2013 winner, and so this was another interesting one. Then when I was thinking about the value, okay, it's a foldable, right? So I can say the value of this is I can stick this helmet in my bag, right? That's one way to put it. That's one way to describe the value. This is the helmet that can fit in your bag, your business bag even. So, there's so many ways to describe its value, but I thought this was quite interesting. So if you're around, please try to visit the Good Design exhibition, because it's interesting, and it's going to be in the big room, and you're going to see a whole bunch of different designs and products and services, and hopefully it inspires you in some ways. Okay. So yeah, can you pass out the papers that I prepared for today? Yes. Okay. So before we get into today's material, I know I have few just joined today, and I'm pretty sure they have. So it's on the website. I mean, it's on the e-learning system, so you can download everything from yesterday, and today material will be up soon too. And so I just wanted to quickly go over what we've covered yesterday. So yesterday I gave you two focus. I told you about our two focuses. One is not an innovation. Of course, innovation in our mind, but we're not looking directly into the innovation, because I say innovation is something defined retrospectively. So once you're in the future, and once you look back into the history, then you can point out that wasn't an innovation, because it's kind of a social phenomenon. It's a kind of social phenomenon. Remember the definition? So you're turning opportunity into new ideas and make it spread to the world. So that was the two part of definition. So innovation, it's very difficult to talk about innovation, because it can be only defined retrospectively. So you have to stand in the future and look back to notice or to realize what was the innovation. But you can, if you're standing right now, then you can be innovative, right? You can be innovative, you can be thinking innovatively, and you can be acting innovatively. And you want your innovativeness to be spread to the world. That's the attitude we want you to be focusing. And entrepreneurship. I've shown you the innovation man, right? Innovation man is a innovation enthusiast without entrepreneurship. He was yelling and he was calling out a lot of things, but he wasn't doing much, right? So when we discuss entrepreneurship, it's always about I or we. And it's not just about doing, but thinking and doing and feeling. And then you need to communicate. So these are the entrepreneurship in the KO Edge flavor. So I really want you to become somebody like this. Okay, but more importantly, innovativeness and entrepreneurship are just building blocks. I've talked that new value creation is the ultimate goal. So these two are merely just approach. So what you aim is a new value creation, and we've done some exercise, finding a value that existing product is creating, and you notice that there are obvious values and there are non-obvious values. And if you focus a little bit more on the non-obvious values, then your product or service can look very differently. Very differently. Do you remember the Red Bull presentation? Yes, of course Red Bull is an energy drink. But if you focus a little bit on the other value that they were presenting yesterday, then you're going to have whole different branding. You're going to have whole different strategy, right? And the same with the Life Straw. Life Straw is, of course, it provides you the clean water. But what if you go a step further and think about, hey, it's not just providing the clean water, but it's providing a happiness or smile to the kids. Then what do? Where is your gas pedal? Your gas pedal is not just the quality of the water, but your gas pedal will be put onto the how can we enhance the smiles and happiness of the children, right? Through providing the clean water. So it gives you a whole new perspective to work on. And I think, and of course that will reward you probably with the money. Probably with the money. But that's not the primary goal. Your primary goal is new value creation. And there are so many kinds of values that you can talk about. It's not just gains. Sometimes it's a pain reliever. Pain reliever. If you can relieve somebody's pain, that's a great value. That's a great value. So, and of course, it comes in combination. Because think about this. This is not just single value, but it has different values. To wake me up, to cheer me up, to satisfy my thirstiness, or things like that. So it comes in combinations. But when you're creating one, you want to focus on something. Otherwise, you get a little bit blur on everything. So we've done some exercise to that. And I hope this kind of inspired you and kind of fired you up that, such, such example do exist in the world. Maybe somebody behind this is thinking how to create new value via very innovative approach. So I hope, I hope all of you to understand this is doable. I mean, this is not magic. You can do it. You can pursue it. So I hope this whole experience will help you to move towards something like this. And maybe next year or a year after KO Edge, I can show your movie, not theirs. That's going to be great. That's going to be great. Yes. So hopefully you come back with the story, like this, and say, I did this. That'll be great. Okay. So that wraps up my things from yesterday, and now I'd like to start moving into today's topic. So today, we're talking about design thinking. Who knows the word design thinking? Who knows the word design thinking? Okay. Who who can describe design thinking for me? Yes, I know. Because, there's so many books about it, right? And especially those Japanese people. There's so many design thinking books, and there's so many design thinking so-called masters. They claim themselves, yes. And they say, hey, I know design thinking better than anybody. So read my book. Come to my seminar. But I don't think so. Because there's only one guy who can talk about this. Who is it? It's a David Carey, right? He's from IDEO. He's the guy who started this, who started all this. And, he passed away. No, he is alive. You tend to think this big, guru died years ago, right? No, that's Buddha and that's, Jesus Christ died years ago. But this guy is still alive. He survived the cancer in 2012 or 13, and he's still in good shape. So, what I want to say is that since he's alive, let's listen to him. His words is the design thinking. All the rest is, I don't know, somebody who's just trying to become him, or somebody's just trying to, be a friend with him. Okay? Well, I'm saying it too much, but I really do think so, because we still have David Carey. Why don't we listen to him? Okay? So, instead of me talking, I'll let David talk. Okay? Hold on. And that's not him. So this is the 60 seconds. It's the interview from the United States, and I'll.
We're going to introduce you to one of them.
Okay, so I'll put the subtitle so that you can see, and I can try the Japanese, but I saw it, but it's just, I don't know, automatic translation, so it's very bad. So I'll just keep it in English, okay? I hope all you can see.
Tonight we're going to introduce you to one of the most innovative thinkers of our time. He's a man who has had an enormous impact on our everyday lives. David Kelley is the founder of the Silicon Valley global design firm IDEO. His company has created thousands of breakthrough inventions, including the first computer mouse for Apple, the stand-up toothpaste tube, and a better Pringle for Procter & Gamble. IDEO may be the most influential product design company in the world. Kelley was a longtime friend and colleague of Steve Jobs, and he is a pioneer in something known as design thinking, an innovative approach that incorporates human behavior into design.
The big thing about design thinking is it allows people to build on the ideas of others. Instead of just having this one thread, you think about it, I come up with an idea and then somebody from somewhere else says, oh, that makes me think we should do this. And then we can do that. And then you get to a place that you just can't get to in one mind.
If you follow David Kelley around IDEO, you can see how he has infused that thinking into the legendary Palo Alto firm he founded more than 20 years ago. Breakthrough ideas happen every day here. The key to unlocking creativity at IDEO may be their unorthodox approach to problem solving. They throw a bunch of people with different backgrounds together in a room.
So you're in the business end?
Yep.
My background's in software engineering, journalism.
Aerospace engineer, doctors, opera singers, and anthropologists, for example, and get them to brainstorm.
You gotta have a certain culture. You gotta have collaboration. You gotta have diversity. You gotta have an anthropologist and a business person and an engineer and a computer scientist. All of those kinds of.
You got it. That's the hard part, is the cultural thing of having a diverse group of people and having them be good at building on each other's ideas.
They encourage wild ideas and visualize solutions by making actual prototypes. But the main tenet is empathy for the consumer, figuring out what humans really want by watching them.
If you want to improve a piece of software, all you have to do is watch people using it and see where they grimace, and then correlate that to where they are in the software, and you can fix that, right? And so the thing is to really build empathy, try to understand people through observing them.
In other words, their experience will communicate what you need to focus on.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a concept that had its genesis in 1978 when Kelly and some Stanford pals took the notion of mixing human behavior and design and started the company that would eventually become IDEO. One of their first clients was the owner of a fast-growing personal computer manufacturer by the name of Steve Jobs.
He made IDEO because he was such a good client. We did our best work for him. We became friends, and he'd call me at 3 o'clock in the morning.
At 3 a.m.
Yeah, we were both bachelors, so he knew he could call me, right? So he'd call me at 3 o'clock, and he just, like, with no preamble, hey, it's Steve. First, I knew if it was 3 o'clock in the morning, it was him. And there's no preamble, and he'd just start. He said, you know those screws that we're using to hold the two thing on the inside? I mean, he was deep into every aspect of things.
Kelly's company helped design dozens of products for Apple, including Apple III and Lisa, and the very first Apple mouse, a descendant of which is still in use today.
He said to us, you know, for $17, he gave us that number, $17, I want you to make a mouse that we're going to use in all of our computers. So what happened here was we're trying to figure out how to make, so you move your hand and how you make the thing move on screen. So at first we thought, we got to make it really accurate. You know, like when we move the mouse an inch, it's got to move exactly an inch on the screen. And then after we prototyped it, we realized it doesn't matter at all. Your brain's in the loop. The whole thing was make it intuitive for the human.
But even after they solved that monumental problem, Jobs still wasn't satisfied.
So he didn't like the way the ball sounded on the table, so we had to rubber coat the ball. Well, rubber coating the ball was a huge technical problem because you can't have any seams, you got to get it just right. And so, you know, it'd just be one thing like that.
Suppose Steve had said to you, I'd like to have a ball that's not steel but rubber coated, and you said, no, you can't do that, Steve. What would he say?
The expletives that I would have probably are not good on camera, but it was basically, I thought you were good, you know, like I thought I hired you because you were smart, you know, like you're letting me down.
Since then, design thinking has led to thousands of breakthroughs, from redesigning Zyla's kitchen tools so they're easier to use, to coming up with a heart defibrillator that talks to you during an emergency.
So it talks to you and it shows you visually what to do.
And they came up with TiVo's thumbs up, thumbs down button.
It makes your TV smarter, right? Because you give it the thumbs up or thumbs down, and your TV learns what you like and what you don't like.
It's why Steelcase, a company that has been building furniture for 100 years, turned to IDEO to reinvent the classroom chair.
This is one of my favorite things. I want you to sit in this chair.
I love this.
So this is for kids, right? So
well, I'm a kid, so
yes,
there you
right,
go.
You're perfect. So when we looked at that old wooden thing with the dog egg leg kind of stuff,
right.
and if you just watch kids and see what they need, what do they need? Well, the main thing they need is a place to put their backpack.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right,
you got
right.
a place to put their backpack, and then they need it to.
Right there.
They're fidgety. They want to move around, so you put it on wheels, right? And in getting in and out of it, you know, you need to this. So
It's not rocket science, it's what?
it's empathetic.
Empathetic.
Empathetic to people, like really, like try to really understand what they really value.
Now they're working with clients all over the globe. They're using the same intuitive human point of view to improve access to safe drinking water in India and Africa, redesigning school systems in Peru, and helping North Face expand their brand into China. Kelly has always been good at coming up with ingenious solutions to everyday problems. His first job was at Boeing. He was part of a team that designed the lights around the passenger windows, as well as a milestone in aviation history, the laboratory occupied sign. But he says the seeds of who he is today can be traced to his childhood in Barberton, Ohio, the passenger tire capital of the world, where he learned the value of building with his hands.
In my family, if the washer broke, you didn't go order the part. You went down toward the washer part and tried to make a new part to fix it, because that was part of the game that, you know, we're capable of fixing things.
And that was something that was part of you too. You were a tinkerer who wanted to take it apart and put it
Yeah,
back
one of the
together.
best stories my mother tells, I took the family piano apart, but it wasn't that interesting to put it back together. So the piano sat there with this big heart kind of thing hanging out of it for most of my childhood.
He was in his 20s, working unhappily as an engineer, when he heard about Stanford University's product design program. What he learned there would transform his life as a design thinker.
And so what happened when you came to Stanford?
So I get to Stanford, and it was heaven. Stanford was the synthesis of kind of art and engineering, and it was wonderful.
It was shortly after that that Steve Jobs came into the picture. For over 30 years, they worked together and were close friends.
What's the biggest misconception about him?
I think the misconception is around that he was kind of like, like malicious. He was like trying to be mean to people. He wasn't. He was just trying to get things done, right? And you just had to learn how to react to that. He did some lovely things for me in my life.
Jobs introduced Kelly to his wife, Casey Branscombe, and Steve Jobs was also there for Kelly when the unthinkable happened. In 2007, Kelly was diagnosed with throat cancer and given a 40% chance of survival. Jobs, already suffering from his own deadly cancer, gave him some advice.
He came over and said, look, don't consider any alternative. Go straight to Western medicine. Don't try any herbs or anything.
Why do you think Steve said, don't look for alternative medicine, go straight to the hard stuff?
I think in his mind, he had made the mistake that he had tried to cure his pancreatic cancer in other ways other than, he just said, don't mess around. When we both had cancer at the same time is when I got really close to him. And I was at home, like sitting around in my skivvies, waiting for my next dose of something. And I think it was the day after the iPhone was announced, and he had one for me. Right?
An iPhone.
Your own iPhone delivered by Steve Jobs right after it comes out. It was a lovely feeling. So he decides to hook it up for me. So he gets on the phone to AT&T, and he's going to hook up my phone. And it's not going well. So
this is such good news for me.
Eventually, he pulls the "I'm Steve Jobs" card. He says to the guy, "I'm Steve Jobs." I'm sure the guy on the other end says, "Yeah, buddy, I'm Napoleon." Get out of here. Right? But anyway, so he never did really get hooked up. No, not that day.
But he was close. What did he teach you about living with cancer?
Steve focused more on his kids, I think, than anything, and made me fight more to survive. And so that focus on family, was something that he taught me.
You care deeply that you watch your daughter.
Yeah.
As she continues to grow. And
it's about her. What was her life going to be like if I died? That's really motivating.
It was around that time that Kelly decided to commit himself to something even bigger. And while he approached Stanford University and a wealthy client named Hazel Plattner with the idea of setting up a school dedicated to human-centered design.
He thought that was a great idea, and he said he'd help me. And I said, thank you. And then I went back, and
you had no idea what he meant?
No. The development officer at Stanford said, when a billionaire says, I'll help you, you should call him back right away. So it turns out Hasso funded the whole thing. He said
$35 million.
Yeah. He said, how much you need? I wish I'd have said $80 million. He said yes to whatever I said, I think.
Kelly now runs a groundbreaking and wildly popular Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design at Stanford, the D School.
Okay.
It is recognized as the first program of its kind dedicated to teaching design thinking as a tool for innovation, not just to designers, but to students from all different disciplines.
I think you can follow your noses a little bit around that. Like, where's the big idea? Where's the excitement?
Twice as many Stanford grad students want to take classes as are seats available. The lucky 500 students in the program augment their master's degree studies in business, law, medicine, engineering, and the arts by solving problems collaboratively and creatively and immersing themselves in the methodology Kelly's made famous. But there are no degrees. It is something Steve Jobs talked him out of.
He said, I don't want somebody with one of your flaky degrees. Very simple, right?
I don't want them working with me.
Yeah, I don't want them working with me. If they just have your flaky degree. But if they have a computer science degree or a business degree, and then they come and have our way of thinking on top of that, I'm really excited about it.
Today, his cancer is in remission. He spends more time doing the things that he cares about most, including tinkering in his workshop with his 15-year-old daughter.
So, Claire, tell me this. What happens here?
Everything. Really, everything.
Yeah, so Claire and I come here to do projects together. Our big project is right over there presently, which is to make a 3D printer. It's called a printer bot. And it's a little machine that makes 3D objects. Like a printer that puts ink on a page, this makes something three-dimensional.
His love of making things is as much a part of his DNA as his appreciation for the car, which he calls the most important object in our lives.
So why do you like it? What does it mean to you?
Well, you know, it's about the same vintage as me, and And it just makes everybody smile.
Okay, I like the sound of the motor.
Almost every day you can find David Kelly driving his 54 Chevy pickup truck between Stanford and IDEO, inspiring the design thinkers of tomorrow and quietly shaping the future.
My theory is that sometimes life squeezes out the best of us.
I've never heard that, but that really resonates with me.
So if I could write the first line of your epitaph, it might be, David Kelly, help people find the confidence in their creativity.
That'd be lovely.
And change the world.
Yeah.
So, the end. Class is over. I thought this clip is just perfect. I mean, it just explains everything to you, right? And I'm pretty sure you have read about him. You have, I don't know, heard about him. But I think, just listening to him just explains everything. He just almost covered everything that I'm going to cover today, right? He talked about the value, the empathy, and he talked about, experimental and creative confidence. So that's him. And I know it's very weird because we're in a graduate school talking about this just one guy and his words. You might think it's weird because usually it's about papers and it's about group of scholars who agreed on some kind of format or whatever. And we talk about that. But design thinking, I think it's really safe to talk about him. Because it's his word. It's him that he had this vision that this will create new value in the world. This will help a lot of companies to become an innovative company. So I think it's all about him and how he has been doing this. So now I'm going to cover what he just said, okay? So, but listen to, not to me, but try to listen to him. I'm trying to, just to paraphrase what he just said in 13 minutes. And so that you can understand better, or so that you can relate it to better, okay? So, here's the first slide I'm going to show you. So what is design thinking? I think many of you have had this question in your mind. Who have thought about this? What is design thinking, by the way, or anyways, after all, right? Yeah, pretty sure you had this question in your mind. But, so this is a piece, or the reference from IDEO. It's called Design Thinking for Educators Toolkit. So it was, I think the first one was onlinely published in 2011. It was done by IDEO and the elementary school, or the pre-K to 12th grade school in New York. And it was put together with IDEO and them. And in this booklet, so I think this is a great booklet to start reading, because don't read like thick, big book about design thinking, but try to read a book for elementary educators, because this is the booklet. And in that booklet, this is the explanation they have. Design thinking is a mindset. Okay? Nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. It's just a mindset. What kind of mindset is important? It's human-centered, just like David said, and it's collaborative, and it's optimistic, and it's experimental. These four things. That's it. Okay? So there is misunderstanding of, design thinking is a tool set or a bunch of methodologies, and you operate these methodologies to do something. No, it's a mindset, and there are some keys to practice that mindset. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to give it to you, because I know some of you have been studying in some related field, and of course some of you have heard about design thinking, but I think a lot of people are misunderstanding that design thinking. Since you have read that some other books, it's about the tool set, but it's not. It's about the mindset. So it's human-centered and collaborative, optimistic, and experimental. Let me put this in Japanese as well. 俺日本語でもですね、 言っとかないといけないぐらいすごい大事なことだなと思っていて、デザインシンキングって何ですかと、ついこの前もそういうセミナーが外であって、デザインシンキングについて定義はいろいろですなんていうやり取りがあったという話だったんですけど、いや、定義はいろいろですなわけがないと思います。なぜならばデビッド・ケリーは生きてるから、彼が何と言ってるかっていうのが多分全てだと思います。で、デザインシンキングはマインドセットですよと言っていて、でたった4つのことです。常に人間を意識しながら考えましょう。これユーザーだけでなくて全てのデザインプロセスに関わる人間、もしくはプロダクトの、こう広がりに関わる人間のこと、それから多様性を生かすことによってその恩恵を受けてやるということであり、それからオプティミスティック、いろんな訳し方あると思いますけど、私は必ず答えはありますと、それを信じてこう進んでいこうということだし、それからエクスペリメンタル、早くたくさん失敗して、これ早く失敗するだけじゃダメで、そこから急速に学ぶというこの4つのマインドセットのことですよと言ってます。でこのマインドセットをどうやるかっていうだけの話であって、決してですねこのやり方の話では全くないということをぜひ皆さん覚えておいていただくといいかなと思います。 So, but you have probably seen these, right? So this is from different people saying different description or giving different explanation or description about design thinking. I'm pretty sure this one's the most famous one. This is from D School, right? They call it 5 modes of design process. Or this is from IDEO. You know, it's very structured, right? No, it's just arrows going everywhere. And this is from Hassel-Plattner Institute in Germany. And this is from KMD, which is right next to us. And this gets you confused, right? So which one is the right one? I get this question all the time. So Kane, which one is the best one? Or which one is the right one? There is no right or wrong. These are just different approaches done or introduced by many different practitioners of the mindset. The same mindset. Some are from engineering people. Some are from industrial designing people. Some are from, I don't know, maybe business creating people. So these are just different approaches of the same mindset. So don't get it confused, but they're all talking about the mindset and they're just showing you some ways to practice the mindset. Okay? So you can create your own as long as you stick with the mindset. That's it. Okay? And I can confidently say this because we went to IDEO. We were not lucky enough to talk to David Kelly, but we have had a chance to talk to one of the active business designer there. And we went to D School, and I've talked with the professor. He is, I forgot his name. Tomi, Yoshi. What was the professor's name we met at Stanford? Oh yeah, Professor Katz. He's like very old guy. He looked like a very random guy. He doesn't look like a professor. He just looked like somebody who clean up the room. But he was a professor. We were waiting in the hallway and he was like walking by and, hey, are you guys the guys who called me? And it was like, oh, I guess so. And he was the guy. And he is the IDEO fellow. And he was the part of the IDEO founding members. And we had a great discussion about it in 2 hours, talking about different things. And we came to this conclusion. Oh, okay. They were never talking about tool set. They were just talking about mindset. And there were so many people just misunderstood because tool set is it's better because it's easy to do, right? It's easy to do. It's easy to propagate. So, but it was the mindset that they really wanted to focus on. And so what are different from how we used to do things and practicing design thinking? So here, I'm going to talk about when you practice design thinking mindset, there are some difference in the activities that you do, okay? And these 3 are very characteristic of practicing design thinking. One is observation. You're going to do this today. So we can say it's ethnographical approach, and it's more qualitative than quantitative. So usually, if you know a little bit about the marketing or if you know a little bit about, product design, so you start from quantitative data, right? Like how many people uses what, like how many people prefer this, like what percentage of people like this more over this, right?
That's where you start. That's how I started. When I was in a motorcycle R&D in Honda, we always had this chart, but that was all fake. We turned out to be. But yeah, that's where we rely on as a huge company or a large company or even small companies. But in practicing design thinking, you don't. But you don't ignore them, but you do take a look at them, but you take more heavily about the qualitative data that obtained by observation and field work and interviewing extreme users and such. So that is something a little bit different from the conventional way of doing things when you practice design thinking. And another thing is that ideation process is different. Okay? So it occurs to be done in groups of diverse people, just like you saw in the video, just like you saw in the video. And if you have not worked in a company, or if you have not worked in the professional organization, you may think, hey, of course, you have to have a diversity. But once you start working, you'll notice that your office is full of unity. I mean, uniform people sits right next to you, because that's how you build your department. Because otherwise, it's just going to be, I don't know, it's going to be just chaotic, right? Engineering sitting next to engineers, that's good. That's considered good because there is a common language. There's common understanding. So it's difficult to manage the diversity, right? It's fun to be in the diversity. But think about, if you're a manager of the department, do you like to have this guys in your department? No! Because you don't like this department because it's gonna be just chaotic. No one is listening to you, right? You want to have uniform people, focused people, dedicated people to the specific topic, so that you can give them the correct, the order, right? Clear order, and they'll respond to you. But when you ideate, as David Kelly told you, you want to have a diversity to expand your solution space or to expand your problem space. So that's something different when you practice design thinking, if you really practice design thinking. And then prototyping. As it was described in the video, it's fail fast and learn fast attitude. So, of course, some of you may have done prototyping, especially if you're engineers, right? But I've done prototyping, but we prototype to test whether we're doing it right. So, for example, I was building a motorcycle engine, right? We design meaning, we calculated, we, just draw the mechanical drawings, and we built the prototype to see whether we calculated correctly, whether we designed everything correctly. So that was for us, right? To check whether we are doing a good job. But this prototyping is not. This prototyping is to see whether you're aiming the right target. So you build it, you don't test it, but you bring it to your stakeholders or users and let them test it. And see if your target is the correct target. So it's completely different. It's not about you doing a good job, or you need to see if your product is good enough for him or her, right? So it's completely different from traditional engineering prototyping. So you want to fail fast, and you want to learn if you're failing, if you're going into the wrong direction, then you want to fix it fast, right? Because after 1 month, you have everything on the move, right? And you have to stop it. Good luck. That's a lot of work and a lot of money and a lot of resource spent. So these are 3 things that's gonna look very different from the conventional way when you practice design thinking. So the way I put this is I think it's a little different from what you have been reading, because some people say, hey, this is design thinking. Right? So these 3 things are the design thinking. But no, nobody's saying that. Well, somebody is, but no, it's not. It's about the mindset, and if you put in the practice, then you'll see this coming out. Okay? So there's a huge difference. And let's talk about design thinking around the world. Can anybody turn on the air conditioner? Isn't it hot in here? Kinda? Yeah. Thanks. So let's talk about design thinking around the world. And of course, this is just some examples around the world. And of course, there's several design consulting companies. This one is Ziba from Portland, Orlando, in the U.S. That is a design consulting company who is doing a lot of design thinking and then the design thinking with their clients. And this is CIID from Denmark, Copenhagen. It's a Copenhagen Institute of Interactive Design. It's quite interesting. We went to CIID, 12, 13, 2 years ago. And I've talked with the founder, and it was Vinay. He's an Indian guy. He's really nice. So they're really new in the field. They're just 6 or 7-year-old company, venture company, but they're doing really well. They have the education department, they have the consulting department, they have the research department, and they have won the grants from European Research Foundation and such. And they are practicing design thinking. They're helping their clients. And not only design consultancy that is practicing design thinking, but the SAP, Germany, they're the system integrators. You probably know them. You see a lot of them sign up on the airport. Yeah, SAP supports blah blah blah. Yeah, so the SAP is actually practicing it, and P&G, Procter & Gamble in U.S., they have a team dedicated for insight search, or the very upstream target definition team that is practicing design thinking. So it's not only the design consultancy who helps the companies to build something or come up with something, but it's actually the companies that is building or manufacturers. Those are engaging with design thinking now, which we did not see maybe 15 or 10 years ago. But now a lot of companies are engaging. And it's happening in Japan as well, because we help a lot of companies. Which company I can talk about? Ricoh? Really? Well, yeah, I'm bundled with NDA, so I maybe not be talking about it, but yes, Ricoh maybe I can talk about. What's that? Ricoh and Teijin. Teijin is a company who builds the materials, like the different kind of material, plastic materials, or like that. And Kureha. NEC, yes. NECs, we're working together, and we are actually implementing it into their design process, and we're actually helping them to do so. And we have a lot of other companies. So yes, but it's not. We haven't seen a result yet. But I'm pretty sure in a year or two it's coming. And I'm pretty sure a lot of other companies are working on that too. And like we saw in the video, it all started from IDEO. And now these words are spread with books and PDFs. And so these are two key players behind design thinking: IDEO and Stanford University D School. Right? So you saw in the video Hasso-Plattner, the rich guy. He spent $35 million. What was it? Yeah, $35 or $32 million. And he just almost gave it to David Kelley. And then they created the Hasso-Plattner D School. Right? Hasso-Plattner Institute is the official name of D School. And did you know there's so many other Hasso-Plattner Institutes? In Potsdam, in Germany, there's a Hasso-Plattner Institute. And they have different computer science departments and also a D School. And there's so many other Hasso-Plattner Institutes all around the world. France, I guess, and somewhere else in Malaysia? Am I correct? Anybody from Malaysia? Yes? Do you know?
Yeah, there's an organization working with Hasso-Plattner.
Right, yes. They just founded a couple years ago, right? Yeah. And I'm pretty sure there's so much more there. And so it was Hasso-Plattner, the rich guy, he got inspired by David Kelley and his group, IDEO. And he thought, hey, we should all do this. And then he gave a lot of money to him and Stanford and built D-School. It was just a few years ago. It's not like 15 or 20 years ago. It's about almost a little less than 10 years ago. And since then, I mean, world just picked up so quick. So quick. I mean, Stanford did a great job spreading their word. So I've already gave it to you, the bootcamp bootleg. I'm going to talk about that later. But I think that is well integrated. It is integrated into the very readable, it's easy to read material. And MakeSpace, do you know MakeSpace book? This is another quite interesting book. Oh, here. I have a few books. So this is talking about how Stanford people create their environment. So there's a whiteboard hanging off the ceiling and how to build that, or different types of Stanford D-School looking interiors, and all DIY. So do it yourself type. It's quite interesting. It's in Japanese. We might have an English version, but if we do, we'll bring it down. But we only have a Japanese version here. So these are the publications by Stanford, and there's so many from IDEO. And it was in the list of the reading recommendation, The Creative Confidence. Who read the book? Yay. Who read the Japanese version of this? Good, good. And if you have not had a chance to read it, please read it. It's fun. It's really good book. I can tell you how good it is because in my personal story, I was sitting in the airplane on the way to United States. Yes, United States. And the guy sat next to me. He was a Bolivian working in Greece. He said, hey, that's a good book. And he was a banker from Bolivia. And he told me, that's a great book. We all should read it. That's what he told me. So I think, that really convinced me, this is a good book. Because he's a Bolivian banker. I'm an engineer and a teacher. And reading the same book and thinking, hey, we all should be reading this, and we all should practice this. So I thought it was amazing. And so these are the word spread, and it's reaching to a point, a very interesting point. So design thinking is now in the B school, the business school. So in 2011, Harvard University started the design thinking course, and now it's one of the most popular courses. And I've visited Harvard this March, and I've talked to the lady who is in Harvard Business School right now, and she told me, I told her, what classes you take, and she told me she's taking accounting, financing, and of course all those classes in the first year. And second year, she said she takes design thinking and entrepreneurial courses, and she said that's becoming more common in Harvard University Business School. So, of course, financing, accounting, and all these traditional B school stuff is of course important, but this is becoming quite common among this business school people, or business school minded people. I thought you had a question. Okay. So in another school, Northwestern University Kellogg Business School, this is almost like, I don't know which one, the first rank, the second rank, but this is, 1 and 2 top university of the MBAs in United States. But they have design thinking plus process thinking, double I think master degree program. I think it's a combination of some engineering degree and MBA degree. So now they have that. Okay, and I'm pretty sure many other schools have the same or the similar program. For example, the London College, I think now they have it. And Toronto University MBA, they have it. So it's becoming so common. And here's another interesting chart, or I wanted to show you. So this is 2014, most desirable MBA employers. So where MBA students say they most like to work, okay? So it's not the statistic that they went, but they said they like to work for these companies, okay? They asked around, so this was done by CNN in 2014, about 4,000 students in this United States. And look at it. Number 1, Google, yes, right? Number 2, McKinsey. Yes. And Amazon, Bain, Apple, Boston Consulting, and blah, blah, blah. And then number 12, IDEO. Okay? So 11 is Walt Disney, 12, Microsoft, 14 is PwC, and you see Johnson & Johnson and maybe Coca-Cola beneath. Isn't it quite interesting to see this? So I'm not saying, hey, IDEO is a good company to work for. No, I'm not saying that. What I want to say is that MBA, minded people in the United States, they're smart, right? They are logical thinkers. They're trained to be very good logical thinking people, and their motivation is very high. They're high achievers. And at the same time, they're interested in working in that IDEO environment. Yeah? They are interested in work like an IDEO people. So imagine, they're smart in a way they can score super high in GRE or GMAT or whatever. But still, they like to do brainstorming. They like to do observation. They like to do, prototyping with, Play-Doh. Okay, so that's what's happening in the world. So if you already working in a company, or if you start working in a company in a couple years or few years, you might end up sitting with Harvard MBA or whatever MBA who is very comfortable with brainstorming in a Stanford way or IDEO way, and who's really funny but still super smart at the same time. So it's not about, I have the ideas, but I don't have the smartness to build around. No, that's not the case in the world competition. The world competition became so competitive that creativity and then the logical thinking comes together in the same dish. Yeah, so that's how I see the world changing. And I see a lot of people interested in this direction. So I hope, I'm saying, you should be that one too, okay? You're not just people who's interested in just having fun brainstorming, but you're smart. That's why you're here. You're smart enough to do whatever you're doing right now. And now you're learning the creativity side, okay? And you're adding on top of that what you've been doing so far. So now we're talking about the mixture of logical thinking that you've been doing a lot, and then the creativity that we're going to talk about today. And so this is the photos that I took when we went to Stanford in 2013. So this is what the project room looked like in Stanford. And I wish we could take a picture in IDEO, but we couldn't. But CNN video just kind of showed you the environment. You saw a lot of weird things sitting around the room. Yeah, so that's true. That's better. We saw, bicycles hanging off the ceilings, and the boat. I don't know what the boat was, but the boat in a weird box with the weird stuff in it. So it really looked like a kindergarten, and there was a golf thing. I don't know what that is, and dog laying around. So IDEO was a great place to visit, but it kind of gives you the taste of what their project room looked like. So this is one of the project rooms in Stanford, and it's like this. So what I want to say is that you don't say, hey, let's do design thinking today for 3 hours and blah, blah, blah. No, that's not how they do. They just, do it when it needs to do. So there is no separation between logical thinking time and design thinking time, or nothing like that. It just, it just happens. So it's the mindset, and they practice in a very natural way in a combination with the logical thinking. And then their project room is set like that. And there is so many rooms like that. It's all project rooms. It's just a part of what they have in the Hassel-Plattner Institute in D School. And even at the end of the hallway, it's just a door. They've done something around it too. So, it just happens like that, hey, let's do brainstorming, or, it just happens. So it's not like, today you are set to do so. But once you are in the project-based learning with us, or, the project with your job or your career, you don't say, hey, let's do design thinking today, and let's do other thinking tomorrow. No, it's not gonna happen like that. But it's a combination. It's a very tight combination of logical thinking and some other thinking altogether. Okay, so I've talked about this, and there's one more thing I really need to tell you, other than mindset. It's the confidence. So, okay, you understood the mindset. Okay, human-centered, collaborative, and optimistic, and experimental, and being creative. Okay, I understand that. And I probably would say, hey, okay, let's do it. Then you stuck. Then you get stuck because you lack confidence. So here, instead of me doing the talk, I'll do David do the talk again. Because, like I said, it's about him. So I'm pretty sure many of you saw his video of creative confidence, but it's such a good video. I want to show you again, and let's listen to what he says about the creative confidence. So to give you a brief introduction, so this is very similar to what we've listened, what we saw with the CNN 60 Seconds, but it's a little bit more dedicated to creative confidence, not the design thinking, but the creative confidence that is necessarily to practice the design thinking mindset. So like I said here, this mindset is only possible if you have confidence, creative confidence, or maybe I can say innovative confidence, so to say. Okay, so I would like to show you the video now.
I wanted to talk to you today about creative confidence. I'm going to start way back in the 3rd grade at Oakdale School in Barberton, Ohio. I remember one day my best friend Brian was working on a project. He was making a horse out of the clay that our teacher kept under the sink. And at one point, one of the girls that was sitting at his table, seeing what he was doing, leaned over and said to him, "That's terrible. That doesn't look anything like a horse." Right? And Brian's shoulders sank, and he wadded up the clay horse and he threw it back in the bin. I kind of never saw Brian do a project like that ever again. And I wonder how often that happens, It seems like when I tell that story of Brian to my class, you see, a lot of them want to come up after class and tell me about their similar experience, how a teacher shut them down or how a student was particularly cruel to them. And they some kind of opt out of thinking of themselves as creative at that point. Right? And I see that opting out that happens in childhood, and it moves in and becomes more ingrained even by the time you get to adult life. So we see a lot of this, When we have a workshop and we have clients in to work with us side by side, eventually get to the point in the process it's kind of fuzzy or unconventional. And eventually these big shot executives whip out their BlackBerries and they say they have to make really important phone calls and they head for the exits. And they're just so uncomfortable. When we track them down and ask them what's going on, they say something like, "I'm just not the creative type." But we know that's not true. If they stick with the process, if they stick with it, they end up doing amazing things. And they surprise themselves just how innovative they and their teams really are. So I've been looking at this kind of fear of judgment that we have, that you don't do things, you're afraid you're going to be judged. If you don't, say the right creative thing, you're going to be judged. And I had a major breakthrough when I met the psychologist, Albert Bandura. I don't know if you know Albert Bandura, but if you go to Wikipedia, it says that he's the 4th most important psychologist in history. Like Freud, Skinner, somebody in Bandura. Bandura is 86 and he still works at Stanford. He's just a lovely guy. And so I went to see him because he's just worked on phobias for a long time, which I'm very interested in. He had developed this way, this kind of methodology that ended up curing people in a very short amount of time. Like in 4 hours, he had a huge cure rate of people who had phobias. And we talked about snakes. I don't know why we talked about snakes. We talked about snakes and fear of snakes as a phobia. It was really enjoyable, really interesting. He told me that he'd invite the test subject in, and he'd say, you know, there's a snake in the next room, and we're going to go in there. And to which he reported that most of them replied, hell no, I'm not going in there. Certainly if there's a snake in there. But Bandura has a kind of a step-by-step process that was super successful. So he'd take people to this like two-way mirror looking into the room where the snake was. And he'd get them comfortable with that. And then through a series of steps, he'd move them, they'd be standing in the doorway with the door open, and they'd be looking in there, and he'd get them comfortable with that. And then many more steps later, kind of baby steps, they'd be in the room, they'd have like a leather glove, like a welder's glove on, and they'd eventually touch the snake. And when they touched the snake, everything was fine. They were cured. In fact, everything was better than fine. These people who had lifelong fears of snakes were saying things like, look how beautiful that snake is. And they were holding it in their laps. Right? Bandura calls this process guided mastery. I love that term, guided mastery. Right? And something else happened. These people who went through the process and touched the snake ended up having less anxiety about other things in their lives. Right? They tried harder, they persevered longer, and they were more resilient in the face of failure. Right? They just gained a new confidence. And Bandura calls that confidence self-efficacy. Right? The sense that you can change the world and that you can attain what you set out to do. Well, meeting Bandura was really cathartic for me because I realized that this, famous scientist had documented and scientifically validated something that we've seen happen over, for the last 30 years, that we could take people who had the fear that they weren't creative, and we could take them through a series of steps, kind of like a series of small successes, and they turned kind of fear into familiarity. And they surprised themselves. The transformation is amazing. We see at the D School now all the time. People from all different kinds of disciplines, they think of themselves as only analytical. And they come in and they go through the process, our process, they build confidence, and now they think of themselves differently. And they're totally emotionally excited about the fact that they walk around thinking of themselves as a creative person. Right. So I thought one of the things I'd do today is take you through, and show you what this journey looks like. To me, that journey looks like Doug Dietz. Doug Dietz is a technical person. He designs medical imaging equipment, large medical imaging equipment. He's worked for GE and he's had a fantastic career, but at one point he had a moment of crisis. He was in the hospital looking at one of his MRI machines in use when he saw a young family and his little girl. And that little girl was crying and was terrified. And Doug was really disappointed to learn that nearly 80% of the pediatric patients in this hospital had to be sedated in order to deal with this MRI machine. Right? And this was really disappointing to Doug because before this time he was proud of what he did. He was saving lives with this machine. But it really hurt him to see the fear that this machine caused in kids. About that time, he was at the D School at Stanford taking classes. He was learning about our process, about design thinking, about empathy, about iterative prototyping. And he would take this new knowledge and do something quite extraordinary. He would redesign the entire experience of being scanned. And this is what he came up with. He turned it into an adventure for the kids. He painted the walls and he painted the machine and he got the operators retrained by people who know kids, like, children's museum people. And now, so when the kid comes, it's an experience. And they talk to him about the noise and the movement of the ship. And when they come, they say, okay, you're going to go into the pirate ship, but be very still because we don't want the pirates to find you. Right? And the results were super dramatic. right? So from something like 80% of the kids needing to be sedated to something like 10% of the kids needing to be sedated. And the hospital and GE were happy too, because you didn't have to call the anesthesiologist all the time, they could put more kids through the machine in a day. So the quantitative results were great. But Doug's results that he cared about were much more qualitative. He was with one of the mothers waiting for her child to come out of the scan, and when the little girl came out of her scan, she ran up to her mother and said, "Mommy, can we come back tomorrow?" Right? And so I've heard Doug tell the story many times of his personal transformation and the breakthrough design that happened from it. But I've never really seen him tell the story of the little girl without a tear in his eye. Doug's story takes place in a hospital. I know a thing or two about hospitals. A few years ago, I felt a lump on the side of my neck. And it was my turn in the MRI machine. It was cancer. It was the bad kind. I was told I had like a 40% chance of survival. So while you're sitting around like with the other patients in your pajamas and everybody's pale and thin, you know, and you're waiting for your turn to get the gamma rays, you think of a lot of things. Most of you think about, am I going to survive? And I thought a lot about, what was my daughter's life going to be like without me? But think about other things. I thought a lot about, what was I put on earth to do? You know, what was my calling? What should I do? Right? And I was lucky because I had lots of options. We'd been working in health and wellness and K through 12 and the developing world, and so there were lots of projects that I could work on. But I decided, and I committed to at this point, that the thing I most wanted to do was to help as many people as possible regain the creative confidence they lost along their way. And if I was going to survive, that's what I wanted to do. I survived, just so you know. I really believe that when people gain this confidence, and we see it all the time at the D-School and at IDEO, that they actually start working on the things that are really important in their lives. We see people quit what they're doing and go in new directions. We see them come up with more interesting and more ideas so that they can choose from better ideas. And they just make better decisions. So I know at TED you're supposed to have a change the world kind of thing, isn't that? Everybody has a change the world thing. If there is one for me, this is it, to help this happen. So I hope you'll join me on my quest. You as kind of thought leaders, it would be really great if you didn't let people divide the world into the creatives and the non-creatives like it's some God-given thing. And to have people realize that they're naturally creative, you know, and that those natural people should let their ideas fly. That they should achieve what Bandura calls self-efficacy, that you can do what you set out to do, and that you can reach a place of creative confidence and touch the snake. Thank you.
Yeah. So class is over again. Everything he just told us. He talks very well, I guess, right? So it is about the confidence, right? Because the mindset itself cannot be practiced probably without confidence. And confidence is not something you need to like gain, but it's almost like he said we need to, you know, bring it back. We used to have it. So I'm pretty sure many of you have the similar experience, right? When you were a kid, you were creative and innovative. Where's the girl who created the bamboo transportation? Where is she? Oh, you're here. Okay, right. So you were creative. Maybe you are creative still, but you were more confident back then, probably. Yeah. But we lose that over years, because of our educational system. And don't forget, he is talking about U.S. educational system in general. Okay? And United States is in general better in that confident creation or creativity generation educational way compared to Japan. Trust me, I went to elementary school in Japan and both United States. And it was very different. Very different. In Japan, we were trained to be, trained to be in line and quiet. And it's good. It's a discipline that you need to learn. You need to discipline yourself. That's what we focus in elementary schools in Japan. But in the United States, I don't know what I learned. But I learned to be, outgoing, and of course, to stand out and to express myself. That's what I learned. So it's very different. But still, he's talking about we need to regain the confidence. Okay? And we traveled around Asian universities and countries. So we went to Thai, and our team went to Thai, Indonesia, Malaysia, India. And I think this context is very similar, right? Our educational system is designed so that we, not to lose confidence, but to be disciplined and to focus on one thing or few things and pursue it. So that's how our educational system is designed. And this is him from United States talking about regaining confidence. So in contrast, we need to think about that a little more than he does. Because our system, our educational system, or society, or culture is much towards less confident or less creativity. So that's what I think. Maybe some of you may not agree on this, but that's how I think. And we really need to think about this, or maybe I need to think about it. So, okay, it's been about an hour and a half. So let's take a 10-minute break, and after this, I'm gonna start talking about the design thinking materials. Some of it I already gave it to you. So let's come back at 11:05. Okay, 5 after 11. All right.